Welcome back to another episode of the Football by Nico Show. Today I'm joined by Rams Down Under, Reece and Hannah. Welcome. How are we doing today?
Good. How are
Very
you?
well.
Doing well. So Rams are about to play first NFL regular season game in Australia. But I think the more interesting story is how the NFL has gone global lately and how people like yourself become football fans that, don't really have that access that we have here in America. And, it's not as popular. So tell me a little bit about like what got you started in becoming football fans.
Yeah, well, here in Australia, sports is everything. And over the past 10 to 15 years, the NBA has really shot up in popularity and basketball in general over here. And I know for me personally, just from following the NBA on social media, I'd get a bit of crossover into the NFL. Like I'd see a few highlights or a few clips or updates. And that got me slowly more and more interested over time. And I'd maybe watch some highlights from that week's games and things like that.
And then it kind of started, I heard a lot about football and like books that I used to read. And then I wasn't really that much into it. And then the Stanford University Vice Hours came to Sydney about 2017. And I went to that game and it was kind of piqued my interest. And then when I met Reece in 2020, he was like heavily into it by then. And then I was like, well, I will start getting into it more because we started watching games together and we started bonding over that. So since then we've kind of just shared that same NFL experience of watching the Rams play every week. And from there we just love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I always think it's really funny when you hear international fans talk about like how they got into it. Like I saw this past season, there was a Vikings fan that like they were asking him in England, like, how'd you become a Vikings fan? That's kind of just like a random choice. He was like, well, I turned on the TV and I was watching football and I kind of just like the color purple. So, what was that reason for you guys?
Well, for me, because I was following along with social media, I was a fan of a lot of the players, to be honest, firstly. So that's how I kind of followed the NFL. And then quite funnily enough, one day after school, I turned on ESPN and they were showing the Rams versus Chiefs Monday Night Football game, the one where it was 54-51. Yeah. And I watched that and I was like, wow, these teams are pretty cool. So that kind of piqued my interest initially. And then I'd watch those mic'd up videos on YouTube where you could hear what the NFL players were saying. And I really liked Jalen Ramsey. And then when he got traded to the Rams, I was kind of like, I'm already interested in the Rams, so maybe I'll start to go for them.
See, that's so much cooler than mine. I saw quarterback in a book that I read, and I was like, I have no idea what that is. So I looked it up, and Tom Brady came up. I'm like, cool, let's watch it. That's literally it.
Yeah, I mean, you got into it really in the like early McVay, Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Robert Woods kind of era. That's the same for me as well. That's why I think it's so interesting that you chose them, purely out of just like that game because that was such an amazing game. I mean, still, like I think the whole game's up on YouTube for people to watch because everybody loved it so much.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you follow like any other certain players around the league just because for different reasons? Because like I do personally, I was wondering if that's the same as well. Like, is there any players around the league? Like maybe Mailata? Is that a favorite player?
Yeah. Well, something I've noticed a lot since kind of starting the whole social media thing is that the Australian and American way they follow sports is a little bit different because I'm finding with Americans, it's kind of you support your team and you support your guys and that's it. Like you have to hate every single other team. But when I first started becoming a fan, like I loved watching like the 49ers and the Eagles play and the Ravens play because I was like, wow, these are really cool teams with really cool players and all that type of thing. So that's kind of been a bit weird, I think, of an adjustment.
Yeah.
But I'd say for me, the top guys would probably be Lamar Jackson. He'd be up there. We got to see him play live one time, and that was insane. He'd be up there. Josh Allen obviously would be up there. And I don't know, I love watching the Chiefs as well, just seeing how good Mahomes is.
Yeah, for sure. I think fantasy football as well sort of does that where you have like a deeper appreciation for the other players in the NFL that aren't just on your team. You kind of root for guys like Bijan was that for me last year. I had him. I even had Jackson Smith and Jigba on my fantasy team last year. So it was a little bit, I was like, I kind of want to root for him, but maybe not when he's playing the Rams. So I think that's another aspect of it that's, like you said, you're not just hating everybody else in the league that they're not the Rams.
Yeah.
Take one's a good one.
So tell me a little bit about like how you started making content online.
Well, we went to a game. What year was it now?
It would have been the
20...
end of 2023 season, I think.
We got there for like the warm-ups, and we created like a sign that said like we flew all the way from Sydney, Australia, and we got like noticed by some of the like media, like social media team members on the field, and they looked at us, and they eventually ended up coming up to us asking if we wanted to go on the field pre-game. And so we got to experience that, and we got to meet around like 6 different players from the Rams team, and it was great talking to everyone. And so from there, we were like, this is not something that we get to do every day. And we thought that it would be nice to then create that social media page to be able to like influence other Australians to say that you can go to American games and you can get noticed if you try. And like, if it's something that you really, really love, you might actually get that opportunity if you keep going and keep trying. So from there, we kept making videos. We had fun with it. We did like, I don't know, he mostly talks stats most of the time, but then we chucked in some memes, we chucked in some of our experiences from the game, and it kind of just picked up from there. And I think it's just so great. Like we've had the opportunity to talk to quite a few influential people, and yeah, I don't know, it's crazy. It all started from one game.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think personally when I try to make stuff on social media, like I'm just trying to make stuff that I enjoy and that I think other people enjoy. So I see the same thing in you guys as well. It looks like you guys really are having fun.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So you go to the game. After that, I'm sure like so far I've been out on the field a couple times. The view when you look just like up, insane. Right.
It's really good.
Yeah, because it was insane as well, because the night before that game, Hannah had organised for us to do the SoFi Stadium tour. So we got to go on the field for that, and we were kind of thinking, wow, this is so awesome. And then the next day we go there and we got to be on the field as well. And that was so incredible. And that was the game as well where we were versing the Cardinals. And if we won the division. So it was an electric game. It was very close to the end and we ended up winning. So it was insane.
I know. It's something I feel like I never would have thought it would have been really cool to go down the field and like look up. But I guess the way that it's just like built into the ground, that the whole like entire top section, you're looking up so high. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So when you look at this team right now, obviously, are you going to the game, first of all?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, so we had to really make sure we got tickets to the game. So we were furiously trying to make sure we got tickets and everything. But luckily, we managed to secure them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know if you guys know this. When I was doing my research for this, I found out that the Rams are not the only team that is supposed to be marketing on Australia. And I was wondering if you guys had seen any other sort of promotion or anything about these other teams. So it's the Rams, the Raiders, the Eagles, and the Seahawks.
I see a lot of Seahawks. They hold like a lot of events down in Melbourne and Sydney, especially, where they just do watch parties. And I just see like the 12's flag over the Harbour Bridge, and I'm like, oh, there you go.
I think it was really because they released this whole global markets program, and the Rams were in Australia, China, Japan, New Zealand, South Korea, Mexico, and the UAE. Expansive teams on here in the entire world, which is crazy.
Because the Rams, I think, were the first of Australia's teams, because I think that was kind of also part of my thinking when I became a Rams fan, because I think that's when that international teams thing had kind of first started. And there's been a couple of Rams things they've had here, like I was lucky enough, Todd Gurley came down here a few seasons ago, and I got to meet him and get a jersey signed and all that. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
But there's definitely a lot of Seahawks things. Like they've sent a lot of players over here this off season, to be honest. And I know for that Melbourne game, they're sending the Lombardi Trophy down here and all that for like a viewing thing.
Of course, they're not even involved, and they got to do that. Yeah, I was looking up Michael Dixon, their punter, is Australian, supposedly.
Funnily enough, he literally went to high school like 10 minutes around the corner from where we are right now. So that's pretty funny as well.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, there was a dude that was punting for the Saints, Lou Headley, if you're familiar.
No.
And I met him, and he was at the Rose Bowl for one of the like player events with all the like college rookies. Apparently he was this 30-year-old rookie. He played at Miami for a couple seasons, and he was trying to get to the NFL. He made it punting for the Saints for a couple seasons, and I think they let him go. but he was just the most energetic dude I've ever talked to. He was so fun. That's why that gave me a good first impression of an Australian player. So yeah, I don't know why. I think the Raiders are on there, but I can see why the Seahawks and the Eagles are on there for sure, because they both have Australian players. I don't know, is there anyone? It could be West Coast as well.
No, honestly, the Raiders one is a bit weird because I
Yeah.
try to keep up with everything NFL that's going on in Australia, and I don't think I've seen anything Raiders related, which that kind of may be due to them not being too great right now, but maybe with them getting Mendoza and being on the come up, maybe they'll start to push it.
I think really it's just like, it's more so like this is, you know, a list of you're allowed to market your team in this country. So maybe they're just not doing the work to market very well.
Most of their clothing is in our stores.
Yeah, that's very true. The Raiders
a lot of Raiders clothing here.
Yeah, the Raiders are just obviously a very big global brand in general, like even outside of the NFL.
Yeah.
Because Hannah just said you can find a lot of Raiders clothing in Australia.
Yeah. So for my American listeners who only know Australia through, you know, highlights or stereotypes or whatever they want to think about Australia, what does your general sports culture look like? You touched on it a little bit earlier, where it's more supportive of the sport as a whole instead of just, you know, your individual team. So is it mostly just cricket, if I'm correct?
Yeah, I don't hear much about cricket though. I think that's another like global sport though, but we have a lot of like Australian Football League, which is the AFL here, and the National Rugby League, which is similar to like, how would you explain?
Yeah, it's similar to like international rugby, but it's got a few rule changes. But yeah, the Australian football, the one where you kick it between the big posts, that one, and our rugby is kind of our big sports down here. But yeah, sports is very big over here, like through school, and that it's all centered around sports and getting people to do sports and participating in that. So even with the World Cup going on right now, I've seen a bunch of like international people be like, how is Australia so good at every single sport type of thing? And that kind of, I think, sums up Australian sport.
Yeah, I was just, the USA played Australia, right?
Yeah, that wasn't a great game for us.
Yeah. So what would you say that the NFL offers that feels different from rugby, cricket, or other sports that you guys grew up around in Australia?
It's very interesting because it kind of does share a lot of similarities with our rugby league and AFL in a lot of ways, I think, which has made it, especially over the past 5 years, I've found a lot more Australian people are interested in the NFL. It's just the big kind of issue is that all the games are on earlier in the day and also on weekdays. Like, it's very rare that there's ever a weekend or a nighttime game for us to watch here. So you're not really able to watch it with like other people type of thing. So I think that's kind of the big barrier, which could get in the way of it getting bigger, but it's gotten so much bigger over the last few years with people kind of just following it through highlights and social media type of thing.
Yeah. So right now we're recording this at 4 o'clock LA time. That is, so we're about an hour away from a primetime game at 5 p.m. my time. What time would that be for you guys to watch?
It's currently 9 a.m. here in Sydney. So most of our primetime games are like 10 a.m. Well, the Rams mostly play like a 10 a.m. game, but sometimes you get the random like 4 a.m. games if they're like a 1 p.m. your time.
Yeah, the East Coast early starts on Sunday.
Yeah. Usually the Rams will play in the 10 a.m. window when they play like the Eagles or when they go to Carolina or something. Usually they're in the 125, whatever you want that window. So that's interesting. Yeah. They're going to try to play on every day this week in the NFL. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, for us, that's honestly kind of good because I even looked through the schedule a little bit, and especially towards the back end of the season, there's so many games that are actually on a Saturday or a Sunday for us, which I know obviously a lot of American fans are upset by the kind of putting it on every single day of the week and trying to maximize the money. But for us here, it's kind of pretty good. Like, I think it'll be fun to be able to actually sit down at a reasonable time and watch the games with other people.
Yeah, the Rams, I'm pretty sure they play Thursday, obviously. They play Monday, Sunday. They play on a Friday, I think. And then I think they play a Wednesday for play a Wednesday for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving Eve. They're trying to make something up now too. So they play pretty much every day except for Tuesday. They could play a Saturday. they could play a Saturday if they get flexed. So, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I feel like they might be oversaturating a little bit.
Yeah, I can kind of see that for sure.
Yeah. What is something that really stands out or that stood out to you when you first started watching football? Was it sort of the player personalities? Was it the fact that, fantasy football and how many games and different varieties of fandom there are? Like there are people that just like fantasy football. There are people that, only like certain players that went to their college. Like there's so many different levels of fandom. I feel like, I don't know if that's the same for Australian sports, but I think that there's such an interesting level of fandom in the NFL that isn't even really in other sports as well here.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought there's a lot more strategy to like the NFL games compared to some of like our sports, like the NRL here. It's kind of just catch it and run. That's it. Whereas like the NFL needs a lot more strategy for where you're going to run, who you're going to pass to, who you're going to predict you're going to pass it to. But I think literally my first thought of the NFL was, wow, this is long. Like it's like 3 hours long. And they had a lot more stoppages, but then eventually like you start to realize why they're stopping so much and like you're able to like follow along a lot better. But I don't know.
Yeah, literally, Hannah took the words right out of my mouth. It's kind of just strategy of it all is just so interesting. There's not really, obviously, I think soccer has it to a level, which I can definitely see, but just the level of strategy and planning and detail that goes into everything. Like I remember when I first started playing Madden with my brother type of thing, and would just kind of randomly select some of the plays and that type of thing, and then realizing that every single player has like a distinct job or a role or a place they've got to be at a certain time for this all to work. And that was so interesting.
Yeah, that's what really kind of sold it for me as well, is that I kind of learned about it through fantasy football. And then I was like, oh, I had Todd Gurley. And I was like, man, the Rams are good. They're my hometown team. Why not support the Rams? And then I slowly just went deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. And now I'm just like, I'm looking at film. I'm looking at advanced statistics. Like the levels just never stop. So I totally get that as well.
It's good nowadays that I saw that they did like the NFL and Disney, and they had like the Toy Story versions of them. And I was like, that is so good for kids who are getting into football. I was like, I wanted to watch one of those games, but
I watched the one where I think it was Atlanta, Jacksonville, and London where they were Toy Story this year or a couple years ago maybe. That one was very fun. It wasn't as like easy to tell what was going on. They were kind of glitching out a little bit, and it was like one of their first ones that they did, but it was very fun to like watch.
Yeah, they're trying to hit all age ranges, which is really good.
They're trying to hit all age ranges, all days of the week, all times, the whole world. Yeah. So, what would you say something that you notice that you feel like we as Americans take for granted in the NFL?
Ooh.
Give me a sec. Let me think.
Oh, that's good.
I reckon it just goes back to the time of days that they play, like having those primetime games. Like I think people are realizing that because Melbourne is hosting a game at a time that's not really convenient for most Americans. I feel like they're like, well, why do we have to sacrifice our games and stuff like that? And when it's really, we kind of sacrifice that every single week to get up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. to watch their games. So I think taking for granted is the time of days that Americans will watch football compared to other countries.
Yeah. And I think on kind of along with that is, just kind of taking for granted that they get like every single game of every single regular season, and that the international people who, as Hannah said, are watching it at all times of the day and following it on the other side of the world. If like your team's playing like 1 or 2 international games, it's kind of like, that's 1 out of 17 games in a season type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like last year when they played in London, I was like, I start at 7 a.m. What am I going to do? Yeah, I totally get that.
So I feel like,
does following the NFL from abroad make you more intentional about the games you watch, since, like you just said, you have to wake up early? Is there certain games where you're like, I don't need to watch that game?
I think we like mostly try to watch all of the Rams games, no matter what time of day that is. But like if there's a really good lineup of games, we'll just put on Red Zone, which will do all 4 screens and flipping between all the games. But those are mostly around like the 6 a.m. games that we'd put on because we might be up getting ready for work at that time. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think we will hold it against you if you guys want to record a game. Like, that's not out of the picture at all.
Yeah, because as Hannah said, we make sure to watch every Rams game, but I try to, like, every primetime game I always look forward to, just because they're on at either 11 a.m. or midday our time type of thing, so it's easy to watch. So I'll always look forward to whatever the primetime game of the week is, and then I'll probably just watch the highlights of the earlier slated games or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the right team to support this year with primetime games. I think there is 7 or 8, and that's the most in the NFL.
Yeah.
Everyone has to be up for you.
What was your first reactions when you saw that they were coming to Australia?
I was excited. I was like, we get to see them again. And I also think, like, what are the odds that they chose us to play? I was like, that is just luck. And there's probably a lot more strategy to why they chose the Rams. But I was like, yes. I don't have to fly all the way to LA and spend like $2,000 Australian just to fly there. I can just go to Melbourne.
Yeah.
I was so excited.
I mean, I think it might be out of that list that they were looking at that we talked about earlier, the Raiders, Rams, Seahawks, Eagles.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not in the league office. I can't make that distinction there. They could have sent any matchup hit. Why do you feel like Rams 49ers would be the right introduction to Australia for the Rams?
There's a lot of rivalry there.
Well, because the whole speculation, because the Australian game was announced pretty early on last season, but we didn't know what the teams were. And everyone was kind of speculating throughout the whole season that it's going to be Rams versus Seahawks, because the amount of publicity and events that the Seahawks were putting on in Australia to kind of promote themselves, it really seemed like they were trying to make sure they were the team. So I honestly think if the Seahawks didn't win the Super Bowl, I think it would have been Rams Seahawks. But I think obviously part of the reason they chose the Niners is the whole what happens at the home games in LA when the Rams play. There's obviously a lot of San Fran fans, which, if I'm being honest, for the Melbourne game, I think there's going to be a lot of San Francisco fans, because a lot of the ways that people here become NFL fans are kind of, whenever they get into the sport, they'll kind of look at it and be like, San Francisco is really good, Green Bay is really good, and kind of latch onto that team. And obviously, San Francisco, there's not many years over the past 20 years where they haven't been good. They're always relevant. They're always good. So there's a lot of San Francisco fans down here. So I think there'll be a lot of interest.
I thought you meant that there was going to be a lot of San Francisco fans traveling there. I didn't realize that there was already ones there too.
I think a lot of Australians who will pick 49ers to follow for the game.
Yeah, I've met a lot of Australian people who are 49ers fans, to be honest, and especially people 30 or older who were kind of alive to see them dominate in the 90s and that type of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big reason, obviously, for why people pick their teams as well. It's just success and players that they like. Like, I have a friend that he picked the Ravens because he just liked watching them win games, and he liked watching Lamar Jackson. I mean, yeah, good. That's a good reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Not only that, once again, like, our sporting stores have a lot of Niners like jerseys, and so they're going to be like, well, we can't get a Rams jersey, we might as well just get a 49ers jersey, and so they'll just wear that to the game.
Yeah,
convenience. So yeah.
What do you feel like? There's sort of a high expectation for both sides. Obviously, it's a rivalry game, first game of the season. Do you feel like there's a higher expectation for, like, this is the start of international football in Australia? Like, you guys may be getting a game every single year after this.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I think we're guaranteed to have a game every year for the next 5 years. I don't think it has to include the Rams. I think it's going to probably rotate between those international teams that you mentioned. But I think there's a lot of pressure, to be honest, considering the way everyone's kind of talking about the Rams as they have to win this year. There's no excuse. There's no being happy with coming second or having a good run. They have to dominate through the season, and they have to obviously start out hot with it being a divisional game. Like, I think the 49ers are going to be quite good this season as well. And they've got obviously a lot of pressure on them as well with the couple of Super Bowl appearances. They played pretty well last year with all the injuries, so it's going to be big.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know if they would send them 2 back-to-back years, but maybe, you know, if you guys are lucky, maybe they just start treating them like the Jags in London. They just send them every single year.
That would be pretty cool. That'd be cool. But yeah, I think it would be a bit far for them to do it every year, but every few years would be nice.
Yeah. Beyond the game itself, what experiences or sightseeing sort of landmarks would you recommend for someone that may be going to the game?
Well, we've only really been to Melbourne like 3 times. And mostly if that was for the F1. But well, I don't even know what's down there.
Well, I think
restaurants apparently are really good down there. A lot of restaurants in like the main CBD area. A classic is just the aquarium there.
Yeah, the aquarium was cool when we went there. But yeah, as Hannah said, we've only been there a few times. But I think there's a lot of things to do. It's a massive city. It's very comparable to the ones in America. There's lots to do. I'm pretty sure the weather will be starting to get pretty nice around September. So there's lots of nice beaches and things like that. So I'm sure there'll be a lot to do for the people coming down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any foods that you would recommend someone try if they go to the game?
Italian? I don't know. We went to a place somewhere in the main, near Flinders Street Station. It was called like Vapiano or something like that. It was an Italian restaurant and I liked that. We went there twice. Other than that, we kind of just went local and just picked all these random little places. We just walked along a main street and there was heaps of options. So
yeah, the Australian food is very, very multicultural. Like there's not really Australian cuisine in a way. It's just a lot of mixes of places all over the world. But there's definitely, I reckon, a lot of snacks that they should try from the grocery store and things like that. There's a lot of cool snacks.
I was looking up some of that stuff before we started here. Tim Tams, I heard are great. Is there anything else that you would suggest as a quintessential Australian food experience?
There's a brand of chips called Shapes, which are very popular. They're probably on the level of like Doritos and that over here. They've got lots of cool flavors. And they've got a lot of fun flavors as well. So yeah, shapes, chips, they're pretty good.
Tiny teddies,
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what else is.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of multicultural snacks too. So I'm like, I don't know what's Australian and what's not.
It's Australian if it's in Australia. I mean, there you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Shapes. I recommend Shapes.
Okay. If you could show a new Australian fan one game, one player, and one moment before kickoff, who would you choose or what would you choose and why?
Oh, that's good. That's good.
What was that game recently? It was like I think it was like the Rams and Bears and it went to overtime. I don't know. That was a great game.
If I'm being we watched all the playoff games because they were on at a good time. We're able to watch those together at a good time. If I'm being neutral and not just a Rams homer, I'd honestly show them that Caleb Williams play against us in that playoff game. That is truly one of the best plays I've ever seen. But one of my favorite plays was in that NFC Championship game, the one where I think Tariq Woolen got the pass interference, or no, he got the taunting penalty, and then after that, Stafford ripped it to Puka down the sideline for the one play touchdown. And that was incredible. That was really cool. And also, I think it was late in that game, it was 3rd down and Stafford scrambled for the first down. That's one of my favorite plays ever. Even though it ended in a loss, that was incredible.
Yeah. Who is either of your favorite player right now? Because I feel like any of them, there's so many that you could be a fan of.
Oh, it has to be Rams though. But Kyron Williams is one of my favorite.
Okay.
He's just fun, like on and off the field. Like we actually got to meet him, and he's a lively player. Like he's just fun. He's serious though, and I don't know. He's a really good player. So
yeah. I don't know for me personally because I found something that's different from the NFL to the NBA. It's a lot less player centric. I think you kind of just follow the team a lot more. I know before my favorite player was Cup, but unfortunately he's on the Seahawks now. But I'd say right now maybe it would be one of the defensive guys like Quinton Lake or someone like that. Or honestly, I think Trent McDuffie's going to be up there for me because Jalen Ramsey was my previous favorite. He's my favorite player of all time, playing corner and that. So I think maybe McDuffie might replace him there.
Yeah, those are great choices. I don't think there's a wrong choice on this team right now. They have arguably the best roster on paper in the NFL. Then they had Myles Garrett. What was your thoughts on that? I saw the video that you guys posted. It was pretty funny. What was your initial reaction to that? We're almost a month into it.
Yeah, because always throughout the season, the more and more Hannah gets into it, we'll watch games against other teams, and I'll be like, when we verse the Vikings, I'll be like, oh, Justin Jefferson, he's probably like a top 3 receiver in the NFL. Or we'll verse another weird AFC team, and I'll be like, oh, that's one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. But literally, I remember seeing the news, and I messaged to Hannah, we traded for the best player in the NFL. It's not even Rams bias now. Like, if you asked me that last year or the year before, I would have said it's Garrett. Like, he's so far above and beyond anyone at his position, and he's so dominant that I honestly can't believe that, like, he's on our team. Like, the only player you can kind of compare him to is Aaron Donald and how dominant he was. So we literally have our new Aaron Donald in a way. So
yeah. When it first happened, I was sort of like shocked. In our little like work group chat, they were just like typing there, Myles Garrett. And I was like, Myles Garrett? Like, what do you mean by Myles Garrett? And then I looked and I was like, this is insane. Like, I always see people say about the Lakers and about just like other LA teams that when they sign these like crazy, insane superstars, that people are like, they were like, go get Giannis, go get, so-and-so, because we're just spoiled here.
Yeah. I think that's also a big thing that the Rams need to buy into going forward, and as they kind of expand internationally, is that I've seen literally every single other fan base on social media since the Myles Garrett trade be like, why can't my team be like the Rams? Why doesn't my team just trade for the best players and take risks and make sure they're good all the time? Like, the Rams, like, they're not satisfied with being average or kind of being half believing that they can win it. They're always going to go all in and get those best players.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a UCLA player, Alex Johnson. He's on the practice squad currently on about a month ago. He told me, he was like, he's been around, I think 3, the Giants, the Colts, and the Titans organizations. He was like, the Rams organization is the best organization by far that I've been a part of, just because there's like a standard of excellence. Everybody wants to win here. You're in one of the greatest cities in the world. Like, how could you not want the best for the team? And I've heard that from many people. So I think that this just, Sean McVay sets the culture. Everybody else sort of follows.
Exactly right.
We froze for a second there. What did you say?
Yeah, no, just exactly right. Yeah, it's unbelievable how high of a standard they have currently.
Yeah, absolutely. With that high standard, is it going to be, I feel like it's coming up to be a really like stressful season in a sense, where it's just like, we got to win. It's like, we got to win. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah. Well, we're like the second best team 2 years in a row. So it's like, we have to win this year. Like,
yeah, we've kind of slowly built up to it, haven't we? Like, every year we've kind of gone a bit further. But I even remember last season when we started off slow, and I think it was the game we lost to San Francisco, and we were 2-3 or 3-2. And I remember I made Hannah make a TikTok video of me being like, the season's over, it's done, we're not good enough, we're not doing it. And it being all disaster stations. But then after that, we literally were a juggernaut type of thing. But I think that's going to be turned up to the ultimate, which I think I think that's something we've done a good job at, is just kind of enjoying the moments of us being good, because you can kind of look across the NFL. There's some teams that literally haven't been good in 20 years, or they'll be good, but they'll kind of be okay. But I think as Rams fans, we've just got to make sure to enjoy what we have and not take for granted how good of a team we're going to have.
We've got stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's really interesting that, just like you said, they always seem to start off slow. I don't know what it is about the earlier season. I have not seen them come out of the gates with like a 2 or 3 win. They're not one of those teams like the Cardinals or the Steelers where they just like go like 8-0 in the first 8 games. Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like that mid-season adjustment, or they're just like trying things out. But it's such a strange little quirk of Sean McVay coaching. But
yeah, it is. Yeah, I guess I can kind of see it in a way, because you kind of want to be peaking at the right time. But especially going into this season, we can't afford to be dropping games early, because that's kind of what cost us the number 1 seed this past season type of thing. So, I guess we'll see what happens.
When you look at entire roster, what do you think will define this upcoming season? Do you think it's Stafford trying to go back-to-back MVPs? Do you think it's Puka, trying to get that contract extension? I think it might happen during training camp, but we'll see. And do you think it's going to be Myles Garrett? Do you think it's going to be replacing Jared Verse? Like, what do you feel like? Because there's so many different aspects. Do you think it's going to be Trent McDuffie? Like, who do you think will be the sort of the standout story of this year? Because last year, Stafford MVP was the big headliner.
That's good because there's just so many things. But I honestly think it's going to be about the defense in a way, because I've always said over the past, ever since Aaron Donald retired in a way, Raheem Morris and now Chris Schuler have gotten so much more out of the defense than it deserves. Like, we've been the 30th highest paid defense for so many years in a row, yet they'd always carry us, especially 2-3 seasons ago. There was so many games where we'd only put up 14 points, but the defense would manage to hold them to 10. But now that they've got all these weapons on defense, like, we literally had a weakness at corner, and we get the 2 best corners from the Chiefs. We weren't getting to the quarterback quite good enough, and we arguably get the best edge rusher of all time. So I think they're going to elevate their defense so much. I remember seeing a quote the other day from Jordan Rodrigue, who was saying a few years ago they'd talk to McVay and say, who's the best corner? And he'd say Aaron Donald, because he'd get to the quarterback so quickly, but he just makes the job for everyone else so much easier. So I think that's going to be the case for Garrett. But I think the interesting thing to watch that could kind of make or break the season will be either the depth at receiver or the offensive line play, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. I remember last year during camp, I was at camp last year. They actually were at my alma mater, they're at LMU, which is crazy because I went to school there. And Sean McVay was saying in one of the press conferences that they knew at some point that they were going to have to play more than 5 offensive linemen, which is kind of a crazy thing to say. Like, you're betting on someone getting hurt pretty much, which is usually the case anyways, and that was the case for them last year. But I think that when you look at that offensive line depth, that's sort of like a shaky area, like you just said.
Yeah, because we've always had a very kind of unknown offensive line. Like, I don't think a lot of other teams could name who's on our offensive line, but they're always just have such good chemistry and they punch above their weight. And it's very telling that the seasons and the games that Stafford's had where he's looked like the MVP and he's looked incredible has been when the offensive line's been playing good. So honestly, they determine so much.
Yeah. What is one bold prediction that you have for the team this upcoming season?
I reckon they're going to put Ty Simpson on for one game. That's a bold statement. I think they're just going to put him on for one game.
Yeah. No, I like that. Yeah, because
that's going to be bold.
Because I remember the stat when we talked to Tuna a few weeks ago. The stat I had where I think across an NFL season, only like 70% of the quarterbacks or something like that play the full schedule, or I think it could even be a lot less than that. So I honestly think across either this season or maybe next season, I think Simpson will play at least one game, I reckon.
That's my goal.
Okay. Yeah, is this the game? This is the game at the end of the season, right? When they're just got everything locked up, and right? See?
Hopefully that would be the best case scenario. But yeah, I definitely think we're gonna see him at some point.
Simpson over. I've seen a lot of discourse online this week about Stetson Bennett being over Ty Simpson, but we'll see.
Guess we'll see.
I also saw a stat recently that was like, of the quarterbacks picked in the first round in the last like 20 years or something, all of them started at least like one game in their rookie year, something like that.
Wow.
We're gonna go rapid fire to wrap us up here.
Sounds good.
What is your favorite uniform that they have, and what are your hopes for the future too that are coming out this summer?
About the Rams uniform or the NFL uniforms?
Well, quickly,
let's do both.
I love the Jets. I love their shiny helmets. I want one of those.
Yes, no, that's fair. The Jets,
the metallic helmets. I want one.
Yeah.
What about ours?
I like the new midnight black ones.
Yep.
I've got one of them and I love them. The new designed black ones.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, my favorite is probably the same as everyone else's. It's the one that like Todd Gurley and those wore back in like the 2016-ish kind of area. The old horns one. I think it's over there.
Yeah.
That one.
They,
That's
I mean, the one you're wearing right now is pretty much that uniform, except for the collar is just yellow.
Yeah.
That.
So that's my favorite one of all
cool.
time. That's my favorite one of all time. And I really hope we bring back the kind of the all white with the blue horns and the blue numbers, like the old school. I think it's the 70s throwback type of look. I think those look very clean, and I kind of hope we get those.
Do you have a prediction for the other one? Because they're getting two more.
Yeah, because they're bringing the midnight one through the 4 years, which I actually didn't realize that. So I think they will bring back the throwback white one, and I think they'll add a yellow one, which I don't know how to feel about a yellow, to be honest. I know the Chargers wore that yellow one a few seasons ago, and it looked a bit. So I guess we'll see.
It looked like, just like you spoke about earlier, though, that Rams Chiefs game that they're playing again in prime time. And if they did that would be so much fun.
Yeah, that was yellow. Yeah,
so I think definitely would be white and yellow would be the top two for me personally. I don't think they were going to bring back the bone. That was kind of like a weird experiment that they did for a couple of years. But yeah, those are two. I mean, it's honestly not hard to say when they have such a limited palette of colors, anyways. But we'll see. We'll see. Probably be in the next couple months. So that'll be fun to see. Who's your favorite? Wait, sorry.
Good.
Who is one former Ram you would add to this current roster?
I think I got to go on what I said in the last podcast, Bobby Wagner. I think he was a really great player, and we did a lot of like quizzes with him, and we enjoyed it. I think he was great. He needs to come back. Yeah,
he was the one shining light during that one bad season, Bobby. But I think I'm going to go with the obvious one, which is probably Aaron Donald, to be honest.
Your wish may come true, my friend. We will see.
Hopefully.
I've heard the rumors.
Who is the Rams player most likely to win over new fans in Australia?
I think that goes back to Kevin. Like he was at no, actually not Kevin.
Yeah, but I think both of them, to be honest.
They both came for the F1, and then they both
Kyron and Kevin Dotson,
and they both did like a meet and greet as well. And I think they had like a lot of fun time down in Melbourne. So, and then they went to like Melbourne Zoo and stuff like that. So I think having seen them on social media, they will probably win over a lot of fans.
Yeah, I think they sent over the right people, Kyron and Kevin. They're very big personalities, and they seem to have a lot of fun. So I think those will be fan favorites for sure.
Yeah, last year at camp, I don't know if you guys saw, but he had the whole Ram haircut going on. It was so fun. Yeah, it was so fun to see. What a guy! He would have he'd practice with his sunglasses on every single day. Wrapping us up today, this is something that I ask all of my guests. What is something that you've learned from playing sports yourself or watching sports as a fan that you think people can apply to their everyday lives?
You got to give me a minute. What's that famous saying? You always go one step forward and 3 steps back. Like sometimes like you'll do something really good, but then something sets you back and then you have to take those few steps back and start again. And I feel like that you'll see that in sport, like you'll get a new player or you'll do something new, but then it doesn't work out and you've got to take those steps back again. And I think that applies to anything in life, really. 1 step forward, 3 steps back.
Yeah, and I think I'll probably just say something along the lines of just uplifting the people around you will get the most out of everything, I kind of think.
Okay.
I don't know.
That'll do us for today, football. Appreciate you for listening.